and it's usually loss. It's usually abandonment. It's usually like, I can't experience that without them. And while that is true to some degree, we can experience blissfully neutral states without them, whoever them is. I recently started seeing and sleeping with someone. When we are together, my body feels so good, so safe and adored and desired. He really awakens my Kundalini energy. But the next day, when he is gone, I feel sadness. How can I deal with the huge oxytocin rush and then the inevitable crash? Yeah, I love this question because I can feel so much of the emotion behind it. A couple of things are coming to mind, and some of them are more for the collective, and then I'm going to come very specifically to some things in here. We as women have this incredible gift oftentimes, and I know this is the case for you, to just love so deeply and to share ourselves with so much emotion. And that is all phenomenal and good. And don't stop that unless someone is not holding your soul like a fragile egg. Unless someone is not there with you, knowing that you are being that vulnerable and appreciating you in that vulnerable state of, I'm assuming it's sexual intimacy. When you said sleeping with someone, I'm assuming that means that you're having intimate sex with them. And because we are such emotional beings by nature in the feminine, that creates a lot of bonding. It's the bonding that we are given as a woman so that we can have the survival of the species, which is that we can have children and we can care for them and we can want to do everything we can to help them and love them and save them and all of that. But then there's the side of the male and the masculine that can oftentimes have sexual intimacy as a sexual act. Now, I'm not saying that's the case here. I think that they can also be very intimate with us. They can give us their heart and their soul in that situation because they have an innate feeling of wanting to procreate and to experience orgasm and to experience themselves as a man. And so while all of that is good, there is an imbalance oftentimes between men and women. Now, the best situation typically is when we have a commitment from both people to be in this loving, intimate space with some expectation of what's happening on the backside, meaning that it's not and I'm not saying this for you, but a wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, that we really know what it is. Now, if it's, a deep committed relationship, then you've got so much more on the other end that is nourishing and fulfilling, and that keeps that going, that connection. Because when we have intimacy with others, we do get on each other's ethereal life cords. So it's natural and normal to have this longing and this sadness. And yes, you're absolutely right. Like, there's massive amounts of oxytocin that come through us through orgasm and through intimacy with someone else. And so depending upon the agreement that you have with that partner, if it's a beautiful friendship that also possibly has some benefits, that can be harder for women because it's harder to sort of let it go and not feel like, well, I want to know what that means to our bond. And sometimes men are better at it. They're like, yeah, I don't really need to know what it means to our bond. It's like, when I'm with you, I enjoy it. And when I'm not with you, I'm doing my thing. And so that is sort of the nature of it. Not always, of course, for all you super conscious men out there, it can be very different. And sometimes the roles are reversed. But I think what's coming is you've got to really anchor into this blissfully neutral state within yourself and raising the oxytocin levels within yourself and finding different ways that also fill that rush for you. I don't even feel like rush is the right word. This is what's coming. If you're a rock star and you're out on stage in front of thousands of fans, and you get all of that hormonal rush that comes, and then afterwards, like, you're also feeling like, oh wait, there's a sense of depletion. So what's so important in that situation, I'm just using it as a kind of a bizarre link to this, because I know it's very different than intimacy, but it's still the same. Since you said oxytocin, it's still in the vein of talking about brain chemistry. It's about talking about our reaction to things and wanting to feel connected to others, wanting to fit in. You know, we can talk about dopamine hits with social media, belonging and friendship. And so let's bring it back to the intimacy of this particular situation, that it's finding the self-soothing ways of going, ooh, I'm a little bit into the fantasy now, the fantasy of what I want this to be versus perhaps what you've agreed for it to be. And finding ways, you know, there's other ways that you can feel this love within yourself, because the love is always within you. This intimacy is always within you. This connection is a beautiful gift coming from this person, but it's also letting it go. And I'm telling you, like, if you're not in the committed relationship, which I think is the case here, this is such great practice for long-term committed relationships, because we start to build that toolbox where it's not like, this is a terrible image, but you know, like the drug thing, like, you know, like, give me more, give me more. Because that's not what we want in relationships. We want relationships to be in a place, and I feel like this is for you, a place of just real unconditional giving and receiving and sharing. And so it is reducing the expectations. It is reducing the fantasies. It is just coming back to, I have all of that I felt with them inside of me. And yes, it is unique and blessed when we get to experience it with someone else. So I'm not saying that, you know, we don't want other people, or we don't need other people in that sense. We do, like, they're the beautiful reflectors of us. But just always going back to that, my well is full. I am full. And it's the mind, as you know, it is the mind that is creating this narrative and creating feelings. And it is most likely at a cellular level an emotion that you have felt for many years. And so, dare I say, maybe a tiny bit of addiction. You know, for some people, it's an addiction to abandonment. It's an addiction to fear. It's a, you know, there's like, and I say addiction kind of loosely, but what I mean is that you're so used to responding to relationships in a certain way with a certain fear, a certain experience that you've had. And it's usually loss. It's usually abandonment. It's usually like, I can't experience that without them. And while that is true to some degree, we can experience blissfully neutral states without them, whoever them is. And that is enlightenment. It doesn't have to be like full-blown enlightenment like Buddha, but it is like where we are really practicing ourselves to be in this place where we know that it's all within ourselves. And so I think this feels like just such a juicy example, an opportunity in your life to not focus on the sadness, right? So I'm just looking back at the question. Okay, oh, I've got more here. Okay, so the next day, the sadness that comes, not focusing on that, but going back and focusing on the great love or the great intimacy or the great pleasure, like just the physical pleasure, but just not attaching the stories to it. Okay, agreed. It's not actually about him, as I know the bond we have. But when we aren't physically together, I want to be able to fill my own cup and not only rely on him or any man. Yes. I think, I don't know when that part of the question came in. I think I went into that yeah, that's the best part, is that when are able to be with a beloved, that we just can cherish that time, because we know that we're not going to be glued to them 24/7. So when we are with them, that we really enjoy it. And when we're not with them, that we honor that, yeah, I feel that tug. I feel that, like I want to be with them. And that you do that, catch yourself, I'm just repeating now, but catch yourself away from the sadness and into the gladness. I don't know, into the like, ooh, I remember what that feels like. And I want to hold that. I want to hold that feeling. And with the word anticipation comes, but I feel I say that with a little caution, because again, the anticipation, if we put it into the lens of future fantasy or future expectation, then we just are setting ourselves up for the possibility of disappointment. So when we hold that feeling in us in a way that we are really feeling the energy with that person, and the bond or the relationship that we have with them at whatever level, and we're just grateful for that bond, I think you're going to start to feel yourself just fill back up. You're going to fill back up to, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So I'm not focused on not having it. I'm not focused on the sadness of not having it. I'm not focused on the fantasy of what it means if I don't have it. And I think that it really gets you back to, yeah, it gets you back to center. It gets you back to feeling blessed for that person in your life. I appreciate you every week. If you're on with me live or you're watching on replay, you can always go to bethbell.me/question, submit your question there, or put comments in the show and I'll pick them up for next week. But I love having you here with me live. The engagement is super fun. And if you want additional support, you can always go to bethbell.me. There's sessions you can book. There's lots of materials, lots of books that get into deep awakening material, like the Awakening and Healing Handbook. There's the Psychedelics Resource Guide. There's also the Herpes Handbook. And of course, there's the book Angels, Herpes, and Psychedelics, which is all about unraveling the mind to unveil illusion. Many, many things and resources that you can tap into. Until next week, I am wishing you so much bliss and love on the journey. Namaste.